Manchester United take on Nottingham Forest. 1 point would guarantee a third place finish, and Michael Carrick seems to have got that permanent job.
Manchester United might have accidentally discovered their next great manager while trying to survive one of the worst collapses in the club's modern history.
What a way to finish the season for us at home. Thought we played ever so well today. It's unbelievable to see this place like this, and this season we've had some big days that we've all enjoyed.
Think about this for a second. Just months ago, this team looked broken. Ruben Amorim was losing nearly every other Premier League game. Old Trafford had become anxious. Bruno Fernandes was carrying the whole creative burden almost alone. Casemiro looked finished. Kobbie Mainoo was barely trusted. And United were drifting toward one of the darkest post-Ferguson seasons the club had ever seen.
Every defeat is a crisis if you're the Manchester United manager, and he's had plenty in his short period in time.
Then Michael Carrick walked back into the club, and suddenly everything changed. Mainoo became the heartbeat of the midfield again. Casemiro started dominating games instead of chasing them. Bruno exploded into a record-equaling 20-assist season.
Here with a win, but I have to start with your assist, of course, to you and to your teammates who celebrated so much. You getting to 20 assists.
Cunha, Mbeumo, Sesko and Amad started attacking with structure instead of desperation. United beat Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea and Aston Villa, then controlled Nottingham Forest in a performance that looked nothing like the emotionally fragile team from earlier in the season. Michael Carrick has now won 11 of his last 16 league matches, taken United back into the Champions League, and somehow turned one of the most disconnected teams in England into one of the most composed. But the scary part, this no longer looks like a temporary new manager bounce. It looks like Manchester United may have finally found an identity again, and this is why Michael Carrick's return to Old Trafford could end up changing the entire future of Manchester United. Manchester United didn't need Michael Carrick because they were having a bad season. They needed him because the club had reached that dangerous stage where defeats no longer felt surprising. By the time Amorim was removed in January 2026, United weren't just short of results, they were short of control, rhythm, confidence and identity. The numbers were brutal: 15 wins from 47 Premier League games, 13 draws, 19 defeats. Wider United record under him, 24 wins from 63 matches. That's not a rough patch, that's a pattern. To be fair, Amorim didn't inherit a healthy club. The squad was already imbalanced after Ten Hag, confidence was low, and the dressing room had been living through years of tactical resets. But his job was to stabilise the mess. Instead, the mess became more organised, which was somehow worse. United became a team that looked coached but not connected. The 3-4-3 was supposed to bring structure. It often created the opposite. The system could work in theory, but looked badly suited to United's squad profile, and that gap between theory and reality showed up every week. The wing-backs were constantly caught between attacking and recovering. The two central midfielders were asked to cover enormous ground. The front three became isolated, and when the first pass forward broke down, the whole team looked stretched and slightly panicked. That's why the defeats became so damaging beyond just the points. Against Arsenal in December 2024, United lost 2-0, both goals from corners. 4 days later, Nottingham Forest came to Old Trafford and won 3-2, United conceding early from another set piece, then falling apart again at the start of the second half. By that point, United had conceded 7 goals from corners, joint most in the league. That's not just poor defending, that's a team losing detail, concentration and emotional control at the same time. Then came the results that make supporters stop trusting the process entirely. The 3-0 derby defeat to City in September 2025 left United with their worst start to a Premier League season in 33 years, 4 points from their opening 4 games. This after recording their lowest ever Premier League points tally, 42 points, and their most Premier League defeats, 15. The numbers were stacking up in all the wrong directions. Then Everton came to Old Trafford with 10 men after Idrissa Gueye's early red card and still won 0-0. Gary Neville called the performance unacceptable, said it smelt of complacency and would erode trust in Amorim's team. That match cut deep because it showed United could have more ball, more territory, a numerical advantage, and still have absolutely no idea how to break a low block down, which, if you've watched United for the last few years, wasn't entirely shocking, but it still stung.
And I just thought United was so pedestrian and so negative having gone to 10 men. You've got a flood forward. It's got to be like the Alamo when you're playing against 10 men. And they still kept this 3 at the back. All right, Luke Shaw ambled forward a little bit. I was particularly harsh on Luke Shaw.
That's where tactical rigidity became emotional damage. Bruno Fernandes got dragged into doing everything. Instead of being the final third creator, he became the emergency midfielder, tempo setter, presser, risk taker, and emergency rescuer all at once. Casemiro was being asked to defend spaces no 34-year-old should be covering every single week. And Kobbie Mainoo, one of the few players in that squad with genuine press resistance and calmness under pressure, became symbolic of the whole confusion. United had a player who could help them control games. The system just didn't consistently trust him enough to make him central. So the midfield stopped functioning as a unit. Bruno dropped too deep, Casemiro became isolated, Mainoo was underused. The attackers waited for service that arrived late, rushed, or not at all. Sesko, Cunha, Mbeumo and Amad weren't the problem individually. United's attacking structure just didn't give them enough repeatable patterns to work with. Too many attacks relied on emotion, transitions, or one brilliant pass that may or may not arrive. When that failed, Old Trafford felt every second of it. Players looked like they were waiting for mistakes rather than trying to create moments. The crowd sensed panic before it happened. Every opposition counter felt bigger than it should. Every misplaced pass carried weight. Every goal conceded felt like it could become 2. That's not a team losing football matches anymore. That's a team losing belief in the football itself. Which is exactly why Carrick's arrival changed things so quickly. He didn't walk in needing a genius speech or a revolutionary system. He walked into a team that needed clarity, not more complexity, better distances, cleaner midfield relationships, calmer possession, and players who knew where the next pass and the next support run would be before the ball arrived. His first job was emotional stabilization through tactical simplicity. He knew the club, he knew what Old Trafford sounds like when belief drains out of the stadium, and instead of trying to prove he'd invented something new, he gave players something they could actually believe in. The first visible change under Carrick wasn't a winning run or a brilliant performance, it was calm. United started to look like a team that knew where the game was going. The midfield became more compact, Bruno was no longer solving every phase alone, Mainoo had clearer responsibility, Casemiro had protection around him, the defenders weren't constantly exposed by broken spacing, the attackers started receiving the ball in situations that actually made sense. That's the difference between a team playing with fear and a team playing with control. Under Amorim, United often looked like they were trying to survive their own system. Under Carrick, they started to look like they understood it. And before the goals, before the winning run, before Bruno's assist record, before the Forest game that confirmed the transformation, that was the first real fix. Manchester United stopped playing like something bad was about to happen.
Carrick's United didn't become dangerous because they suddenly started counter-attacking faster. They became dangerous because their attacks started looking repeatable. That's the biggest difference, and it sounds simple because it is. United just hadn't managed it in months. The record proves the change was real. Since taking interim charge in January, Carrick took United to 11 wins, 3 draws and 2 defeats in 16 Premier League matches, 2.25 points per game, 3rd place confirmed, Champions League football secured. After the Nottingham Forest win, United were sitting on 68 points. Not a bad return for a man who was supposedly keeping the seat warm. Bruno Fernandes reaching 20 Premier League assists tells the attacking story most clearly. His assist for Mbeumo against Forest put him level with Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne, the most assists in a single Premier League season. That number doesn't happen by accident. It needs runners, timing, wide movement, box occupation, and players attacking the same picture at the same moment. Under Carrick, Bruno stopped looking like a man trying to solve every phase of the game by himself. Mainoo and Casemiro gave United a stable midfield base, so Bruno could sit higher, see forward runs earlier, and deliver from areas where his aggression becomes a weapon rather than a gamble. Mbeumo benefited immediately. He gave United something they badly needed: vertical threat, stretched defensive lines, attacked the far post, forced centre-backs to defend facing their own goal. Against Tottenham, he scored from a clever corner routine as United won 2-0, making it 4 straight wins under Carrick. Good corner routines. Who knew United were capable? Cunha gave the attack a completely different kind of danger. Not just a finisher, a connector between midfield and the front line. His movement between the lines stopped United from becoming too predictable, and his timing in big moments was decisive. Against Arsenal at the Emirates, he scored an 87th minute winner in a 3-2 victory over the league leaders. That result mattered because it showed United could suffer, respond, and still have enough attacking clarity to win late away from home against the best team in the league. Then came Liverpool. United's 3-2 win did more than confirm Champions League qualification. It showed Carrick's team had developed genuine belief in high-pressure matches. Mainoo scored the dramatic winner. These fixtures have been emotional traps for United in recent years. Panic, poor spacing, weak game management. This time, they found a way through. The Chelsea win showed something different again. 1-0 at Stamford Bridge, Cunha scoring from Bruno's cross. Not their most fluent performance, but it showed control of another kind, the ability to protect a lead, suffer without collapsing, and tighten their grip on third place. The big wins each told a different part of the story. City gave them belief, Arsenal gave them courage, Tottenham showed tactical maturity, Chelsea showed control, Liverpool showed mentality, and Forest showed evolution. Because against Forest, United weren't perfect, and that's exactly why the game mattered most. 1-3-2, but the performance carried the full picture of what Carrick had built. Shaw scored early, Cunha restored the lead after Forest equalised, Mbeumo got his goal from Bruno's record-equalling delivery. 8 shots on target to Forest's 4, missed chances, hit the woodwork, and then Forest pulled it back to 3-2 with Morgan Gibbs-White with time still on the clock. The old United would have panicked right there. Mbeumo missing chances would have created anxiety. Forest equalising would have turned Old Trafford into a nervous wreck. A late goal would have made the final minutes feel like a slow-motion disaster. Instead, Carrick's United kept playing like a team that trusted the ending, kept creating, kept attacking the box, kept using Bruno as the rhythm setter, kept managing the emotional temperature of the match. Not survival football, controlled football with imperfections. There's a difference. The defensive recovery ran through the same logic. Shaw's return gave United build-up security and balance from the left. Dalot looked more functional because he wasn't being left isolated without support angles. Maguire and Martinez benefited from a midfield that actually protected the spaces in front of them. And Yero and Heaven got something United players hadn't had in a while, a calmer environment to develop in, rather than being thrown into disorder and told to figure it out. That's what Carrick changed most. Not flawless, coherent. The attack had patterns, the midfield had relationships, the defense had protection, Bruno had runners, Cunha had space to connect, Mbeumo had lanes to attack, Amad had freedom because the structure around him finally made sense.
The clearest sign Carrick had changed Manchester United wasn't the results, it was the midfield. Under Amorim, Kobbie Mainoo hadn't received a single Premier League start, not one. And this wasn't some raw teenager still finding his feet.
This was one of the most technically secure players in the squad. Calm under pressure, clean in tight spaces, intelligent with his body shape, brave enough to receive the ball when the game was hot. Exactly the type of footballer United were missing. Amorim just never consistently trusted him. Carrick saw it immediately. In his first 4 league games, Mainoo started every single one, and United won all 4. Against Tottenham, the numbers told the story plainly. 33 passes completed in the final third, 12 more than he'd ever managed in a Premier League match before, and the most by any player in the league that weekend. That's not a nice stat, that's a player finally being used correctly. Under Amorim's 3-4-3, the double pivot had to cover enormous distances, protect transitions, and feed attackers who were often too far away. That kind of structure makes even good midfielders look incomplete. Carrick didn't ask Mainoo to be something he wasn't. He used him as a connector, the player who takes the ball out of pressure and moves it into the next zone without panicking. Simple idea, transformative effect. It changed Bruno Fernandes first. Before Carrick, Bruno was doing 5 jobs at once, dropping deep to build attacks, forcing passes into disconnected forwards, pressing high, reacting emotionally, and trying to rescue games almost by reflex. Once Mainoo started providing control in the middle, Bruno no longer had to be everywhere. He could stay higher, receive in better pockets, and create from areas where his risk-taking actually punishes opponents rather than just entertains them. His explosion under Carrick wasn't just form, it was structural freedom. Then, Mainoo changed Casemiro's entire situation. For most of Amorim's spell, Casemiro looked finished. The legs looked heavier, the spaces looked too big. Every turnover dragged him into open grass defending transitions that should never have reached him. But that was the wrong diagnosis. He hadn't lost his football brain, he was being exposed by a midfield that wasn't protecting him. Carrick fixed the distances. With Mainoo beside him, Casemiro could sit deeper when United needed control, step forward when the press demanded it, attack second balls, and arrive in the box when the moment made sense. By that point, Mainoo had played more minutes under Carrick than he had under Amorim across the entire previous spell, 449 minutes compared to 397, and Casemiro's role shifted from pure destroyer to someone operating across multiple phases of the game. The numbers back it up. Casemiro finished with 9 league goals, an expected goals figure of 5.34, 1,546 passes at 81% completion, 153 long passes, and 2,507 league minutes. For a defensive midfielder in his mid-30s, that's not survival, that's serious production. His final home appearance against Forest gave the story an emotional edge. United won 3-2, Bruno equalled the Premier League single-season assist record, and Casemiro got a standing ovation in what felt like his Old Trafford farewell. Earned every second of it. But the tactical point is what matters most. Carrick didn't make Casemiro younger, he made the games smaller for him. Shorter distances, better cover, smarter pressing angles, fewer moments where he had to chase lost causes across the pitch. When you give a player with that experience, that kind of platform, his reading of danger becomes more valuable than his recovery pace ever was. That's the real Casemiro revival, not nostalgia, structure. The Mainoo-Casemiro partnership worked because they complemented each other perfectly. One brought calm progression, the other brought defensive timing, leadership and box presence. Together, they gave United something that had been missing for months, a midfield that could actually breathe. United stopped treating every attack like it needed to be finished in 5 seconds. They started circulating with patience, moving opponents, pulling pressure towards Mainoo, releasing Bruno higher, and letting Casemiro choose his moments instead of constantly reacting to danger. Carrick didn't just pick 2 midfielders, he rebuilt the relationship between control and aggression. Mainoo gave United rhythm, Casemiro gave them authority, Bruno got freedom because of both. And once that triangle started making sense, Manchester United started looking like a football team again. By the time United beat Forest and confirmed 3rd place, Carrick was no longer just the interim manager who steadied a sinking ship. He changed the emotional temperature of Manchester United entirely.
And now the question isn't whether he saved the season. The question is whether United accidentally found their answer while they were just looking for a temporary fix.